This is the 7th and final video in my masculine leadership series. If you've been following along, thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're learning lots. Now, this video is where everything we've explored culminates. If this is your first video, welcome. You don't need to watch the previous 6 to understand today's story. However, if this resonates with you, I highly recommend going back and watching it from the beginning. I'd love to hear what you think. All right, so I have wanted to make this video and to tell this story for over a decade. No lie, right? And the funny thing is, there were many reasons why I put it off. And now that I think about it, I'm really glad that I did, because something was missing. My own understanding of the story was incomplete. So the story I'm telling you today encompasses this entire theme of masculine leadership, because the story is not just about Shiva and Kali Ma. It is a story about leadership. It's a story about power. It's a story about polarity, and the masculine and the feminine. And it's a story about chaos. And it's a story about containment. This is where it gets really good. So the names and symbols are ancient, right? But the lesson that they reveal is timeless. We can all relate to it on some way, shape, or form, which is why I think this story has survived for the many thousands of years that it has, not merely as mythology, but really as one of humanity's most profound explorations of power, consciousness, and the restoration of balance. Now, before we begin, I want to acknowledge something important. The story I'm about to tell is really only one small chapter of a much larger, deeper story. I'm jumping to the best part, and I am leaving out some names and some details just to kind of keep it concise. But hidden within this tale, this epic ancient story, is one of the most profound lessons on leadership and containment that I personally have ever encountered. I hope you like it as much as I do. Our story begins with imbalance. The devas, the gods, demigods, celestial beings, those who were entrusted with maintaining harmony, order, and balance in the universe, they had become, let's say, overwhelmed. The asuras, or the demons, the forces of greed, domination, chaos, and destruction were gaining power, and balance was beginning to give away. And among those asuras, or demons, stood one particularly terrifying being, and his name was Raktabīja, the blood seed demon. Like many powerful asuras before him, Raktabīja had earned a boon or a favor from Lord Brahma through extraordinary feats. And honoring the laws of creation, Brahma granted him the boon he requested through years of austerities. A boon that granted him great power and protection. Now, unfortunately, power does not determine character, but boy, does it reveal it. And Raktabīja was unlike any enemy the Devas had ever faced. Now, imagine standing upon the battlefield, and before you stands a towering warrior, massive, dark, armored. His eyes burn with hatred. A malicious grin stretches across his face because he knows something his enemies do not. You see, because of Brahma, Raktabīja is undefeatable, because every drop of blood spilled from his body carries a seed. And every seed, every single drop that touches the earth, becomes another entire Raktabīja. You strike him once, and 2 more demons stand in his place. Beat him again, and 10 appear. Cut him with your sword, and now you're surrounded by hundreds of Raktabījas. And the harder they fought him, the stronger he became. The more force they used against him, the more his army of Raktabījas increased in size, all of them possessing the same power. And eventually, the Devas realized something terrifying. They were losing. These divine beings were losing because every attempt to defeat the problem just created more of the problem. It just amplified. And perhaps this is the first hidden lesson within the story. Some battles can't be won through force alone. And some problems multiply every time we react to them or resist them, right? Like fear, trauma, conflict, resentment, addiction, shame, chaos. The harder we attack them or the more resistance we give to them, the larger they become. They grow. All right, now back to the battlefield. All right, the Devas have exhausted every conventional solution they could think of. Nothing worked. Over and over again, they were defeated. The Asuras, the demons, they seized power and celestial order began to collapse. And the very beings entrusted with preserving harmony could no longer preserve it. So the Devas did what human beings have done throughout history. Whenever we reach the limits of our own strength, they prayed. They prayed, and they prayed for help from the Divine Mother. They prayed and they prayed, and they called upon the Divine Mother, Durga Ma, and for a moment, nothing happened. The battlefield, it felt strangely quiet, as though all of creation itself had stopped to listen, to wait. And then something extraordinary occurred. From the combined radiance of the Devas, the Divine Mother revealed herself, beautiful, terrible, compassionate, unyielding, a warrior, a mother to all, a protector and a destroyer, not gentle, not soft, not passive. The Divine Mother Goddess, Durga Ma, showed up fierce, protective, primal, radiant beyond description, golden in complexion, clad in crimson, adorned with celestial jewels, and seated upon a mighty, fierce lion, holding her divine weapons, gifted to her by the Devas themselves, in each of her many hands. Her presence communicating a very clear message.
I've come to restore balance.
And so Durga Ma faced Raktabīja and his army of demons. For 9 days and 9 nights, the heavens watched, the earth trembled, the lion roared, and the armies of Asuras fell before her. One by one, the forces of chaos were defeated. Yet, Raktabīja remained, because every wound only multiplied him by the thousands. Every strike or cut with the sword only strengthened his power. And then Durga understood this enemy required a very different force and strategy to be defeated. And so, from the center of her brow, from her concentrated divine fury, Kali Ma emerges, and what a frightful sight she is. Her skin and hair were dark, dark as the night between worlds. Her wild, disheveled hair was like a tangled storm behind her ferocious face. Her red eyes burned with divine intensity and rage. Her fang-like teeth reflected her feral, uncontrollable temperament and nature. Naked, barefoot, clad in space and adorned with garlands of severed heads and human skulls. Her skirt, woven from the severed arms of humans, from those who opposed dharma or duty, symbolizing this destruction of ego, ignorance, and the cycle of karma. Her eyes blazed with terrifying intensity. She was not gentle. She was not refined. And she was not concerned with appearances. Kali Ma is the aspect of divine justice that appears when everything else has failed. She's the force that emerges when chaos has gone too far. The force that says, enough! The battlefield itself trembled in her presence, and all of the Devas watched in awe. And the Asuras froze in terror, for unlike the others who approached the battlefield, Kali Ma had not come to negotiate. She didn't carry typical military strategy. She had not come to compromise or engage in typical warfare. She had come to finish what no one else could. Kali Ma turned her gaze towards Raktabīja and his blood-cloned army, the army that multiplied every time it was attacked, every time a drop of blood spilt. The demon who had made a mockery of every divine weapon, every strategy, every attempt to stop him. Kali Ma understood what no one else had until that moment. See, the problem wasn't Raktabīja himself. He wasn't actually immortal. The problem was his blood, or more accurately, what happens when his blood touched the earth. So Kali Ma did what no one else could possibly imagine. As she struck him with her sword, her long, insatiable tongue reached out and lapped up, caught every drop of his blood before it could touch the earth. Every single drop, every demon seed, every possibility of multiplication. She slashed and drank, lapped up blood like a famished beast at a stream, and for the first time, the cycle of multiplication was interrupted. No new demons emerged because the blood wasn't falling. No new army appeared because she drank every drop. No new chaos demon were born, and at last, Raktabīja fell, and the impossible battle had been won. And the Devas rejoiced. The heavens erupted in all sorts of celebration because finally balance had returned, or so they thought, because now there was an even bigger problem. Kali Ma had spent her existence slaughtering the demon Raktabīja and drinking his army's blood with such a fury that now that he was dead and done, she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. The battle had ended, but the force that had been summoned to destroy, that only knew destruction, that only knew how to be bloodthirsty and ravage, that force did not know that the battle was over. And so her dance, Kali Ma's dance of destruction, grew wilder, fiercer, stronger. Her fury intensified, and the earth shook beneath her feet. Mountains trembled. The heavens grew silent. And slowly, the Devas realized something even more terrifying than the battle that had happened. Kali Ma, the bloodthirsty force that had just saved the world, was now on the brink of destroying it. Kali Ma's dance of destruction continued with an unstoppable momentum. It was fierce, relentless, unwavering. The force that had destroyed chaos was now chaos itself. The entire planet trembled beneath her feet. Mountains cracked open, rivers changed course, the heavens grew silent. Panic quickly spread among the Devas. At first, they tried to stop her, but she only became angrier and therefore stronger and more fierce. Then they tried to reason with her, but her fury only intensified. Then they tried to kind of bribe her, control her, manipulate her, and confine her destruction, but she only became wilder and even more ferocious. And every attempt to restrain her, to contain her, or to change her, it only fed the very force of destruction that they were trying to control. Every effort to stop her dance just gave it more momentum, more speed, more power. And once again, the Devas' options were exhausted. Nothing was working. The harder they pushed, the fiercer she became. The more they resisted, the more destruction followed behind her. And eventually, the Devas understood what every leader, every parent, every partner, every coach, every human must eventually learn, that some emotions cannot be controlled. No one knew what to do The Devas had exhausted every solution, every strategy, every weapon, even the divine weapons, every expression of force and control. None of it worked. And so once again, they prayed. They prayed and turned to the only being whose presence hadn't been disturbed. Lord Shiva, Mahadev, the Lord of Yogis, consciousness itself. While the world was trembling, Lord Shiva remained still, Dhira. While the heavens shook, Shiva remained calm, while creation itself seemed ready to collapse beneath Kali Ma's feet. Shiva remained in deep meditation, high upon Mount Kailash, his chiseled, unbothered body covered in sacred ash. From his matted locks flowed Mother Ganga, the celestial river descending from the heavens. A crescent moon rested upon his brow, a symbol of mastery over time and change. Around his neck rested a great king cobra, calm, peaceful. Danger itself couldn't help but find peace in Lord Shiva's divine presence. Rudraksha beads adorned his body, and a tiger pelt was wrapped around his waist. Lord Shiva was the embodiment of austerity and peace. His eyes were never fully open nor fully closed, yet watched everything, attached to nothing. And though he possessed the power to destroy worlds, what radiated from him was not fear or rage or even contempt for the disruption. It was peace, a sweetness so profound it required no defense, a stillness so complete it could not be disturbed, a presence so deeply rooted it could not be moved. Lord Shiva needed nothing. He proved nothing. He simply just was. He was power without aggression, strength without force, authority without domination, presence without performance. And that's why the Devas came to him, not because he was more powerful, because every attempt of force, it had already failed until Shiva arrived to help save the world. Now, Shiva did not summon an army. He did not prepare for battle. He didn't even reach for a weapon. Shiva did absolutely nothing to attempt to overpower Kali Ma. And take in mind, she's like a force of destruction about to destroy the world. He did nothing to try to control her. He simply casually, quietly walked onto the battlefield, alone, unhurried, completely undisturbed, unbothered, as though he was walking through a quiet garden rather than the greatest storm creation had ever known. And while the Devas were trembling, watching from the heavens, Lord Shiva remained still, and without one single word, without any threats, completely free from any energetic resistance, he prostrated himself and laid down directly in Kali Ma's path. No aggression, no intimidation, no performance, only presence, complete stillness, deep peace. The universe held its breath as Kali Ma danced on. And oh, did she dance. She danced with such unstoppable momentum, like a force that no longer knew how to stop itself. Her wild black hair lashed through the sky like a tornado. Her garland of skulls swung against her bare chest, while her eyes blazed with divine fury. Her long tongue stretched from her mouth, stained crimson from all of the blood of the demons she had consumed. Every step she took shook the earth. Every movement of her dance carried the force of destruction itself. The earth was giving way. The battlefield had vanished. The earth was disappearing in her wake, yet her dance raged on. Forests splintered. Mountains crumbled. Rivers surged from their banks. The earth groaned beneath her feet as she blindly danced a trail of destruction on a direct path towards where Shiva was peacefully resting on the ground. The Devas watched in silence. They all held their breath. The earth itself seemed to be suspended in time. One step closer, and the fury raged, then another, the earth giving way. The Devas were beside themselves with terror and feared the worst for Shiva. And then, as Kali Ma's foot came down, centered upon Shiva's chest, it was like time stood still. Shiva didn't stop her. He didn't try to attack her. He didn't try to control her or overpower her. He did none of those things. What he did, though, was profound. Shiva stayed peaceful. He was fully present. And for the first time, Kali Ma seemed to have awakened from her fit of rage, from the rage that was blinding her to what was happening all around her. She truly felt him. She felt his peace, his stillness. She felt his undeniably safe energy, where presence meets consciousness, so deeply rooted, it could not be moved. Something so steady, it could not be shaken. Something so certain, it had no need to prove itself, or defend itself, or justify his actions. And once she felt him, felt his depth and unmovable presence, she remembered herself and became still. The storm remembered the sky, and for the first time since the battle began, Kali Ma became fully aware of herself. And she became fully aware of Lord Shiva beneath her feet, aware of his complete stillness, acceptance, unwavering presence. He was fully contained, completely in control of himself, his energy, his presence, his gentle power. And in that awareness, her own returned. Her dance abruptly came to an end. The destruction ceased. Calm returned to the earth, and peace was felt, not through force, not through control, but through his presence, his containment, through a force so deeply rooted in itself that it remained unchanged, even in the presence of absolute chaos and destruction. Kali Ma stuck out her long, blood-red tongue in humble realization and became still, quiet, submissive, relaxed. And this is the moment the story, to me, is most profound. Shiva never tried to control Kali Ma. He never tried to overpower her or dominate her or conquer her. He did not try to shame her. He didn't try to change her or make her wrong. He remained fully present, accepting, fully grounded, fully rooted in himself. And in the presence of something so surrendered and safe, Kali Ma couldn't help but remember herself and became still and calm. Now, for years, I thought this story held the solution on how to quiet feminine rage and chaos. And now I see it more as a blueprint of masculine steadiness and leadership. It's a powerful story about masculine presence and what it's capable of. And it's a very revealing story about containment. Containment and the capacity to remain rooted in who you are, even when everything around you is asking you to abandon your center, your peace, expecting you to react rather than respond, or get pulled into the chaos or drama or outrage around you, because every great leader eventually will meet Kali Ma in a conflict or a relationship, in a marriage, in a family, in a business, in our communities, and perhaps most importantly, within ourselves. Chaos comes whether we invite it or not. So the question is, who will you become when it arrives? Will you react? Will you resist? Will you get angry and loud? Will you try to control what cannot be controlled? Or will you remain rooted, present, calm, Dira? Will you remember who you are, even in the middle of the wildest storm? Will you have the wisdom and discipline to stay in control of yourself? Stay in control of your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your energy? Will you be able to stay present and peaceful? Because that is what Lord Shiva taught us by example. The presence and capacity to stay calm, even during the most ferocious of chaotic energies, to wield power without aggression, to demonstrate strength without force, to hold authority without being controlling, and to embody presence without performance. Real leadership is not just the power to move and lead everyone else, it is the capacity to remain rooted in yourself, especially when everything around you is unraveling or falling apart. And perhaps that's why this story has lived in my heart and my mind for so many years, because to me it's just one of the most profound lessons on masculine leadership and containment that I personally have ever come across. A lesson that has inspired and influenced my work and my understanding of polarity, and especially the way that I help men navigate leadership, purpose, power, and intimacy. So if this story stirred something within you, I would love to hear about it. What came up for you? Please share and let me know in the comments below. I'm going to do my best to read every one of them. I mean, I say that now. Let's see what happens. I would genuinely love to continue this conversation. And if you found value in the story, please like it and share this video with others. You never know who might need to hear it. Oh, I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Geraecka Lyonns. Thank you so much for visiting my YouTube channel. I'm really honored to have you here. Thank you for participating in my very first series on masculine leadership. Please subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss future conversations. I have so much more coming. And if you'd like to connect with me personally, you'll find all of my information in the description below. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I haven't gotten to tell a good story in a while. Our presence is our superpower. So take care and remember to root deep, rise whole, and lead well.